Time now for sports on 104.7 The Cave. Here's Ned Reynolds.
Mike, the intern, Ned Reynolds, halfway point of the week. Springfield Cardinals were victorious in Texas last night.
And came from a 3-0 deficit to get that win, which they had to have. That ties up the series now with the Midland Rockhounds at a game apiece and sets up the final game coming up tonight. So with the best-of-3 series now tied at 1-1, Springfield so will Midland Rockhound for that. The Midland Rockhounds, they'll set forth their best efforts. It was a really good game last night, and the Cardinals can thank Jeremy Rivas, who has been a big-time shortstop all season long. He had a triple in the 6th inning that drove home the tying run, and then Darlene Mochetti came up with the base hit in the 6th, which put the Cardinals up 4-3 after a 3-0 deficit and held that lead the rest of the way. Springfield and Midland the Rockhounds will now play for the title. Final game tonight.
A lot of fun. Go Birds. Speaking of the Spring Birds, the minor league does do their own set of awards every year, and it seems that a lot of those guys are going to be the future of St. Louis Cardinals baseball.
Well, we think so anyway. The league most valuable player for the 4th straight year is a Springfield Cardinal. It's J.J. Weatherholt. He played for both Springfield and Memphis, of course, and had a little bit of time with St. Louis. The fact of the matter remains he had 306 for the year, 300 with the Springfield Cardinals. Just had a really big season. J.J. Weatherholt is the most valuable player. Top pitcher is Eshawn Henderson, who pitched last night. Now his record's 9-7, a little misleading, under 3.0 on the earned run average. Had a really big year. Also, the 2nd straight year that the Cardinals have had the pitcher of the year. And the manager of the year is Patrick Anderson. Of course, he had a record of 88-50 with the Springfield Cardinals, and it's quite likely that he will return next season as the Springbirds pilot.
It, again, is a hopeful future for the St. Louis Cardinals when you got this much talent down in your minors. Crazy yesterday, about, 2, 3 in the afternoon, we all got a notice that the head coach Oklahoma State no longer had a job.
Yeah, this is very curious. 21 years Mike Gundy had been with the program, but this team that he has this year is just simply not very good at all. And he is suffering from Oklahoma footballitis because you expect only the best down there. And really, Oklahoma State has had Barry Sanders at one time. You just had some great players. Well, they aren't there now. Oklahoma State is 1-2 on the year, got absolutely hammered by Oregon, 69-3 out in Eugene, Oregon, and that's just unacceptable. A score of that nature, a walloping of that nature, doesn't resonate very well, and certainly a loss to Tulsa does not at all. Tulsa hadn't beaten Oklahoma State when they were Oklahoma A&M back in 1951. That was the last time that Tulsa had won. That's a few years ago. And the fact of the matter remains, they did beat Tulsa on Saturday night. Now, get this. Oklahoma State's only win of the season, their only win was against the team the Bears hammered on Saturday night, Tennessee Martin. That was it. That's their only win. Not good enough for Mike Gundy, out after 21 years, but don't feel badly for him. $15 million payoff.
Yeah, he's going to be going on vacation for a week. Ned, Cardinals are still on the West Coast in San Francisco. How they doing?
Well, this is an interesting game. Where was this team earlier this season? Cardinals were down to the San Francisco Giants 8-3 and come back and win it. Cardinals win 9-8. Brendan Donovan 4 for 5. Ivan Herrera had 3 RBIs. What on earth is this? This team's coming back and beating. Well, that's a tough loss for the Giants, too, because it does officially eliminate them from the playoffs. They were hanging on by the enamel on their teeth, and that enamel finally collapsed, and the Giants are out of the playoffs. Cardinals win 9-8. Nice little win. Now, the Kansas City Royals playing the the Los Angeles Angels, come away with a win as well, 8-4 over the Angels. But the big story here is Cole Reagans. He's been out for quite a while. He makes a start last night, and in 5 innings, he strikes out 10 Angels. Now, this is the Angels. They're not a great team, but come on. 10 of them in 5 innings, that is pretty good. Reagans, had he not been hurt, gosh, he would have been a huge help down the stretch. He's just a really good pitcher. Bobby Witt Jr. had a couple of RBIs, as did Adam Frazier, and the Royals win by a score of 8-4 over the Angels. And both those teams play again on a Wednesday.
It's so crazy because with the Cardinal situation, it was that consistent bat that they needed to really, if they could have done that all year, totally different outcome for that team. Same thing with the Royals. Had they had the bullpen to match with those bats, same deal. But hey, again, Royals are still over 500, and that's all I could ever ask of a team, especially right now. All right. Robo umpire. Your thoughts as a guy in the later part of his life that's been around for a long time. It'd be safe to say that baseball is your favorite sport. How do you feel about this?
Well, I'm an old man, and when it comes to baseball and some of the excitement from the crowd, what are you going to do, go up and argue nose to nose with a computer? That's not going to work. Well, that's what it's going to be. The robo-umpire is coming into baseball, and it will be for the 2026 season. Now, this is a partial robo-ump. And now you say, wait a minute, how can that be? There will be a human being back of home plate, and that human being will be calling the balls and strikes. He's the umpire. However, there will be a challenge system employed, and each team will have 2 challenges. Of course, if you win one, you get to keep that same number. But the fact is, it's the pitcher, the batter, and the catcher are the only ones to make the challenge. And when they do to a call, whatever the human umpire called, they have to immediately make that call. There's no consulting with the dugout, no looking at the replay.
That was my next question.
There's nothing like that at all. You've got to make it right away. I think they give them 17 seconds, if I'm not mistaken. But whatever it is, it's got to be done, and they do it by tapping their helmet like that. And when the umpire sees that, okay, we go to the replay. If the replay is, and it's a computer, it's the same computer that's used in tennis. And you see it where the ball is right on the line and so forth and so on. That's the judge. And if it's overturned, well, that's fine, and you get to keep the next one. But if the call stands, according to the computer, then you get 1 less challenge. You have 2 for the game. I think it'll speed up the game in some respects, but I always like, in a way, seeing the guys come out of the dugout and going chin to chin with the umpire and calling him all sorts of names and dumping birdseed over home plate and all that. And I'm not going to see that now because the umpire and the computer don't go head to head.
Well, someone's just going to rip the computer and throw it on the ground. I'm sure you're familiar with that.
Oh yes.
I don't know. I don't know how it's going to speed up the game because you're going to have to refer to a computer for replays. You know that the challenge stuff does slow it down. But also, I'm curious to see each team's approach because if it really is down to the pitcher or the batter, you might have some batters that might have bad eyes and think that was a ball and it really was a strike there, bud. But
however, that person has to answer to the manager. And the manager has said, hey, Mike Holmes, you don't make any calls at all.
That's what I'm saying.
You're fiery. We don't want you out there now. Only certain, but now there's no rule that says it has to be only certain people, but you better get that in because there are fines awaiting.
Be interesting to see how this plays out next year. Missouri State Bears are they're back home again this weekend, aren't they?
This is the end of a 3-game home streak, but it is a big one because this is the conference opener. Very first game in history in Conference USA. And the Bears of all teams are playing one of the tough ones, Western Kentucky, from over in Bowling Green, Kentucky, and they are a very good team. They went to a bowl game last year, have a very fine football team, but I don't think it's one that's unbeatable. Western Kentucky is a 4.5-point favorite over the Bears for a game that's here in town, and the over-under is 61.5, which would indicate it's expected to be quite a bit of scoring. Western Kentucky does have wins over Sam Houston, North Alabama, and Nevada, but they also can be beaten. They were beaten by Toledo, and that was Toledo's Mid-America Conference, and that was a substantial loss. We'll see what happens Saturday night, 6 o'clock, conference opener, Bears and Western Kentucky.
Go Bears, Ned. Have a good day. I'll see you tomorrow.